We know that Bray Wyatt has a history with Seth Rollins. In fact, Rollins was asked about that by Ariel Helwani in their interview for BT Sport. Ariel released part 2 of the interview that he did with Seth before Clash at the Castle. In Cardiff, they sat down, they did this whole interview. The first part was very good. The second part is even better. And you really should go out of your way to watch it yourself. It's over 30 minutes. It was about 36 minutes, I think. But when it was over, it didn't feel long enough. In the interview, Ariel asked Rollins about working with Bray Wyatt and the rumors of him possibly coming back to WWE. This was before any of the White Rabbit stuff started on television. When this interview was taped, I don't think any of the White Rabbit stuff had started, but Bray's name was being thrown around anyway because Triple H was bringing back a lot of people the company had gotten rid of. And Rollins admitted what most of us already suspected, which is that what we saw in that awful Hell in a Cell match that he had with The Fiend in 2019 was what Vince McMahon wanted. It was not what he wanted, and it was not what Bray wanted. He said it was not their call. They played the hand they were dealt. They both tried to get it changed, and he said the boss at the time would not budge. He said sometimes we're actors on a stage and we just read the lines, and that's what happened that night. And he said, looking back, it would have been better if the Fiend just mauled him inside the cell and put the claw on him and won the championship, and then Seth could have moved on to go do something else and work with other people. And he also had this to say about the Bray Wyatt character, and I think he was talking more about the Fiend specifically, but he kept saying Bray Wyatt, the Bray Wyatt character. Bray Wyatt, lost to a lot of people. I don't think the issue was the Bray Wyatt character. It was the Fiend. But he talked about how the Bray Wyatt character never made any of his opponents look any better when he was done feuding with them. He said the Bray Wyatt character was just difficult. If you look at anybody that worked with the Bray Wyatt character for an extended period of time, they didn't come out of it better than they went in. It was very difficult to have a story with him where, aside from Randy, it was difficult for anyone. I think maybe Daniel Bryan might have escaped a little unscathed, but everybody else pretty much met a dire end for their character. That was the end for the Seth Rollins character as you knew it, the Beast Slayer character. It was tough figuring out how to tell a good wrestling story with that character. I was not good at the phenomenology, I don't even think that's a word, the phenomenology stuff. I wasn't able to interweave that with reality enough to make what I felt was a captivating story. So he is admitting that maybe I just couldn't do it. Maybe I just wasn't good enough to make this stuff, this magician stuff work. Because with Bray, it was a lot of hocus pocus and a lot of over the top stuff. And he said, I just, wasn't able to make it realistic and believable enough to where it came across well on TV. And he's right. Seth Rollins, the Beast Slayer, was finished after the Fiend got done with him, or I should say after Vince McMahon got done with him. But after the Fiend got done with him, that was it. Rollins had to go heel. He had to totally reinvent himself to get rid of the stench of that whole thing. The Fiend's feud with Braun Strowman wasn't very good. The Fiend's feud with Randy Orton, initially it may not have been bad, but it just went downhill the longer it dragged on. It was awful. But the Bray Wyatt character, the story they told with Daniel Bryan when Bryan shed the skin of the Wyatt family after that cage match on Raw, that is one of the all-time great moments in Monday Night Raw history. The match those two had at the Royal Rumble that year was great. I assume when, Seth mentioned Bryan, he was talking about their later Royal Rumble match. They had another match at the Royal Rumble, I think it was in 2020. This time it was Bryan against The Fiend. And even then, he got more out of The Fiend than probably anybody else, which is a testament to how good Bryan Danielson is. I know, newsflash, Bryan Danielson is a great professional wrestler. I know this is going to shock a lot of you. But the story with Randy Orton joining the Wyatt family and Luke Harper not trusting him, it's very similar to the story we're seeing now with the Bloodline, where Jey Uso does not trust Sami Zayn. He told Sami on Friday, I see right through you. If you do anything to hurt this family, I'm coming for you. With Orton, it was pretty clear he was infiltrating the group from within. With Sami, I don't think that's the direction they're going in, but the stories are very similar. And that Wyatt family stuff with Orton was great. They should have gone all the way with it and added Harper to the match at WrestleMania that year and made it a triple threat. But this is one of the reasons I'm hoping for Bray to change things up and reinvent himself again when he shows up. He can keep elements of what he was doing before, but I think to just show up as the Fiend again, I think Seth is right. That kind of supernatural character, it's very hard to work with because he either goes around beating everybody and everybody ends up looking less than when they're done with him, or he loses and everybody says, well, he's buried, that's it. The Fiend lost, he's done. He was done after what happened with Goldberg and the way that went down, as sudden as that all was. You know, Vince McMahon did the Fiend character no favors, from the Hell in a Cell match to the match with Goldberg when he lost the championship. Nobody did more to damage and kill the character than Vince McMahon. But how different would things really be with it, you know, under Triple H, with Triple H in charge? I'm not sure that it would be all that different.